Hi, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Rectified Podcast. Today, I'm so excited because I have my very first recurring guest, Christopher Dedeyan. Welcome back to the podcast.
Sandy, thank you very much. And I am so glad to be on your podcast. And I did not know that I was a recurring guest. So it's definitely an honor.
Yes, you are. You're the first one. Christopher, today we're going to talk about imposter syndrome, specifically for entrepreneurs, like how entrepreneurs feel that they are imposters, even if they accomplished a lot or if they're still at the beginning of their careers. But before, tell us a little bit about yourself for those who didn't listen to the first time you were a guest here on the podcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself and then we can move forward from there.
Thank you, Sandy. Once again, a true pleasure to be on again. So my name is Christopher Dedeyan. I am a professional speaker and a peak performance coach. So what that entails is I'm blessed to travel the world and give speeches to Fortune 500 companies and have executive one-on-one clients with top tier entrepreneurs. I also have my academy, which is Dedeyan Academy, which I help top tier entrepreneurs get on more stages to speak eloquently about their service, product, and ideology to get a positive ROI for their business. So that's a bit of what I do in the professional world and who I am.
Perfect. So let's go straight to the point and talk about imposter syndrome. Where can we start? Like, what do entrepreneurs feel? Maybe what is imposter syndrome and why do they feel it?
So I love this topic. Sandy, awesome job in highlighting it because I do believe in our society as entrepreneurs, we do not highlight this enough. And I first noticed it in the beginning of my coaching career, 7+ years back at this point. And I was blessed right off the start to really coach these top tier C-suite execs. And I realized that they all had certain levels of imposter syndrome. Even the people that we admire were looking at it, and I was noticing that they had this. And everyone verbalized it in different ways. Some people called it stress, overwhelm. Some people were calling it fear and beyond. So as I noticed that everyone is feeling this, I started realizing that this is something that we don't talk about enough. Because when we feel these things, we think we're the only ones feeling it, which is the stress, overwhelm, the fear, the anxiety, and beyond. But everyone feels it. It's actually a part of being an entrepreneur. It really is. And if you look at anyone that you admire at a very high level, they're actually going through that as well. And if I just look at my field, the professional speaking world, for me, in my eyes, one of the goats of the industry right now is Tony Robbins. And we could look at him and be amazed at what he accomplishes. But the reality is he still has fears. He still has insecurities. He still has doubts. And he still has that imposter syndrome at certain points. Now, granted, he has the skill set to be able to close that voice off instantly because he's practiced it and he consistently practices on a daily basis, which is the key to that success. But the reality is the first thing as an entrepreneur, we have to understand that everyone has these imposter syndromes. And by thinking it and knowing that everyone has it, it diminishes the cognitive pressure on you and the pressure on your shoulders of like, oh my God, am I the only one that's having this? Is it normal? Am I not normal? And beyond.
Is imposter syndrome like, I was just thinking about what exactly imposter syndrome is. And is it like you're doing something, but you don't know the topic or you're not an expert in it, and then you feel weird about it, like, oh my God, like I'm leading all these people and then I don't know? Or is it more like just something that's in our minds, and even if we know something, we feel that we don't know it?
It's both.
It's both.
It's both. So let me explain that. You know that saying, did the chicken come first or the egg?
Yeah.
How do you want to be an expert at something before starting? You're never an expert at something right off the bat that you're starting. Sandy, let me ask you a question. What is something that you're really, really good at right now? Like one skill that you have. This could be in your business. This could be personal life. It could be dancing, swimming, whatever it is, cooking. Talk to me about one skill that you're very, very good at, and you would even say you're proficient almost as a professional. What would be that skill?
Definitely not dancing. That's for sure. Yeah, everything marketing. Like it's just what I've been doing since 20 years. And yes, there's always something new, but I'm confident about it. Like like whatever I do, I'm really confident about giving advice related to that.
Perfect. So marketing, it's been 20+ years, 2 decades that you've been in this industry. Sandy, Do you remember a time that you had no idea about marketing and you started learning and you started getting your first clients paid for your marketing services? Do you remember a time within that aspect?
Well, I studied it I did business administration and marketing was my specialty. So in university, I did that. And then I started working. But studying alone is not enough. So at work, I used to like go back to my textbooks and, try to, there was no like Google and things like that. This is
Mm-hmm.
how old it is. But I used to go back to my textbooks. Oh my God, the marketing strategies. Oh my God, we need to do this, and then go back to the frameworks that I knew, that I learned about in school and, with experience, and then always getting more knowledge. Like I never stopped learning about it. So these two things, 20 years, like I think I paid
So,
my dues.
so this is what I'm saying.
Mm.
In the beginning of your career, when you started working, there were certain things like, oh, I'm not too sure. You went
Oh
back into
yeah.
your textbooks.
Yeah, for
Now,
sure.
today, I'm pretty sure when somebody asks you any question about marketing, it naturally comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, you still educate yourself to be more refined with technology, but it naturally comes to you. Are we correct?
For sure, yeah.
You've developed an expertise. And just like Malcolm Gladwell popularized the research of becoming master at something in his book, The
Yeah.
Outlier, which he
Yeah.
specified if you do something for over 10,000 hours with intention, you're going to become a master, or about 10 years. So you have double that. So we can say that you're a master in marketing in certain regards. But in the beginning, you weren't. So now, if you understand the framework of how to learn, you understand anything that you're going to do in the beginning, there's an aspect, a learning curve, and you're not going to know as much. But once you understand this, you attack that new task that you may not be as good at. Like imagine you said dancing.
Yeah.
I could put you in a dance class right now. You're going to feel silly. You're going to feel overwhelmed because you don't have the skill set.
Yeah.
Until your neural networks get created and it teaches you properly how to move your hands and your body in that aspect.
Yeah.
But if you understand the framework, at least you could approach it with more confidence. Because right now you're not good at it, but if you do the work properly, consistently, at a certain point in time, you're going to dance great.
Yeah.
So once you have that understanding,
Yeah.
sorry, go for it.
No, I lived that this year, and it's exactly that, but it makes it much easier because I have 20 years of experience. I signed a new contract in January, and it's not exactly marketing. So it was a different world, different types of companies. It's a completely different world. And as you said, even if you have experience, you get anxious. And I was anxious at first. It's been 6 months almost. And because I have that background, now it's like, okay, we need to do this, we need to do that, all of these things. Like I'm back in the game. So yeah, so true. I
Sandy,
confirm.
so thank you for sharing that. And this is where it comes down to answering your question of how does it work in regards to insecurity? Is it because you have the lack of knowledge or the mindset? It's both. You need to, first of all, acquire that knowledge, which takes time. It's in experience. It's not only in books and it's not only in experience. I think it's a correlation of both. Second of all, it's the mindset to understand that if you are not good at it right now, doesn't mean you're not going to be good at it in the future. And then as you keep on going forward in life and educating yourself, the more balance you have with knowledge in general, so more things you can do. Furthermore, one last thing I'm going to say about this before ending my rant here, I would suggest many people at a certain point try new things that humbles them, that it's something that they're not necessarily good at in the beginning. Because right now, Sandy, you do a lot of marketing, and whatever marketing challenge you have, you've probably seen it. It's evolving, but you're probably not very much challenged in that. So by you being very long in an industry, that's great, but you're going to have to find ways to challenge yourself and develop that skill set of feeling uncomfortable and still feeling comfortable within that uncomfortable. Essentially. Going out of your comfort zone.
Exactly. That's exactly what I did. I took up a new challenge and I learned, and I'm still learning a lot. However, I don't know if it's with everybody or if it's just me. I was talking actually about this topic with one of the people I'm currently working with, about imposter syndrome and all of that. And I realized that I didn't feel it much. Yes, you get stressed because you don't know the topic, or like this kind of world, the world that I'm in right now, I'm not familiar with it. But I find that humbling yourself, like you said, and admitting that you don't know and asking questions, this is what helped me, and I don't feel like an imposter in that world, because I tell them, oh, I'm new in this, tell me more about this, or I ask my questions,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, instead of me coming, oh, I have 20 years of experience and I know better than you. I don't know if that helps, or this is one of the tools that you teach people or like train people to use.
So Sandy, you hit it like straight on. You hit the nail on the coffin, right? The reality is, if you want to succeed in life, you have to be extremely coachable. So granted, you come into anything that you're doing with massive experience, with massive knowledge, but you have to be humble to know that there's always something you could learn new. And that's why I have many quotes in my home study. You have a couple back here, and I have like 18 in front of me. And one of them is Socrates, the top one over here. And it says, the only true wisdom is knowing you know nothing. And that's what it comes down to. And I finish all of my keynote speeches almost with that quote. And I've been on stage for an hour speaking to people. I'm like, the only true wisdom is knowing that I know nothing. And I just spoke to them for an hour.
Yeah.
But that's how much it's crazy that every time you learn something new, you realize, oh, wow, there's a lot that I don't know. So having that humbleness of being coachable and being open to learn from anyone, just like I work with top tier entrepreneurs, top tier C-suites, I could go outside right now and meet a homeless person, and there's something that I need to learn from that homeless person.
Of course.
So it humbles you and it positions you to be able to learn, which the whole aspect of that imposter syndrome significantly diminishes, because you know that you know nothing and you're here to learn.
Yeah. That's exactly what I thought, but I needed your confirmation with this. But it's also so exciting to learn about new things. I mean, yes, you have the knowledge. Yes, you've been doing things for 20, 30 years. I don't know, but it's always, for me, that's how I thrive, always doing something new and learning more. So yeah. So Christopher, you work with a lot of CEOs, or business owners, whether it's a small business or a very big corporation nowadays. I think that's who you work with.
Yeah.
How do you help them to manage this, or to be better at not feeling? I don't know if you can not feel being an imposter, but how can you manage this?
Okay. So here's the thing. Can you not feel it? No. Everyone feels it. It's first of all acknowledging it, as we mentioned, understanding it, understanding where you are within your journey within that particular skill set or that particular fear for that specific skill set that you're trying to acquire. And second of all, most importantly, what I work on is the human being. Doesn't matter where they are in society. A human is a human. So that means understanding the biochemistry of the brain and body, understanding how to utilize it for your competitive advantage. And that has to do a lot with mindset. The tactical skills we give it. But if you look at it really, Sandy, success is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. And here, let me give you an example of that, Sandy. I'm going to ask you a question. In 2 steps, how would you explain in 2 steps to lose weight? What would be the 2 steps you need to do to lose weight?
Eat right and exercise.
It's as simple as that. Eat right, so it's calories in, calories out, and move every single day. Why is it a $1 trillion industry? Because the people want it right away without actually understanding the mindset behind it. So if I just give them the actual step-by-step process, which you just did, is the mechanics, the 20%, then why is it that if we look outside, there's more people that are obese right now than ever in society? Before somebody losing weight and following those steps, they have the mindset, believe it, be one with it, so then they could receive the information and be like, all right, cool. How do I go about eating less? How do I go about doing the exercise? But everyone has the answer. The mechanics are there. So when I work with these top-end people, what we're looking at is the psychology behind it. When working with their teams, we're looking at the psychology behind it. Once we get the psychology there, then the mechanics is easy. Everyone pretty much knows the mechanics. There's no secret on that end. It's understanding the human body, which that's where, unfortunately, our education system hasn't been predominant on teaching us that.
Yeah.
And that's where I come into play.
Mm-hmm. That's true. What you're saying about the education system. We only learn like math and science, and which may or may not be beneficial in depending on what you're doing in your life. But yeah, that we don't have like life skills that, I don't know if it's called life skills, but you know what I mean, like how to live your life, or like how to manage your finances, or I don't know, something about mindset and emotions and all of these
Mm-hmm.
things. These are not in we don't learn about that anywhere. But I do find more and more people are aware of these things, especially with all these podcasts and experts and people like you, Christopher, who keep speaking about it. And people are feeling the need to do this. So I do think it's getting better, but you have to be willing to be open to accept these. Like, I consume a lot of this type of content. That's why I was like, okay, let me ask my colleagues these questions, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what we're doing, I don't know if that's something that helps.
100% it helps.
Mm,
So just to answer one of the parts of your questions, you're like, I don't know what these are called. They're called life skills. They're actually called soft skills.
soft
So the
skills.
hard skills is the actual things that you learn. Like you said, when you go to school, they teach you a lot of hard skills. They teach you how to do math. They teach you how to read. They teach you philosophy, whatever, which is all important stuff. But they don't teach us the soft skills, which is your communication. They don't teach us, once again, to understand the biochemistry of the brain and body to utilize it for your advantage. They don't teach us how to deal with our emotions. What are emotions? How to feel about it? How to understand it? They don't teach us how to read body language. All these things that are massively important. They don't even teach us how to learn at certain regards. They teach us specific things, but they don't teach us how to learn.
Yeah.
Now, the second part of how your question or your affirmation of like, I do it by consuming information, by being around it, by podcasts, and then I'm able to associate that with your peers. Yes, 100%, Sandy, you're doing it right. Because the more you consume that information, the more you're teaching yourself. And there is a neuron in your brain that's called the mirror neuron. Just like a mirror, whatever it consumes, whatever it sees, it reflects. So if you're hanging around the right people, you will become like them. If you hang around people that are super fit, they have six packs, stay with them for 6 months to 12 months. I guarantee you're going to be six packs. If you
I
hang
need
around
that.
people that are multimillionaires, it's all about your surroundings.
Yes,
It's
yes.
all
True.
about your surroundings.
True.
And that's what it is, because they're not different than anybody else. They think different, they talk different, and they act different. And then by you seeing that, naturally your mirror neurons start reflecting that, and then your habits and rituals change. And then once you hold it consistently for long enough time, at a certain point, you're going to look at your bank account and you're like, oh, wow, there's $1 million in my bank account. Or you're going to look stuff in the mirror and you're like, oh, wow, look at me fitting in these jeans that I didn't think I was going to fit in them ever again.
Yeah. This is so true. It did. All of these things happened recently in my life. Like, it's been a year that things are changing, and it's all due to things like this. Like, who are you surrounded with? Who are your friends? Um, Everything you just said. I have so many examples. We can talk about it for forever, but this is not the place. We're here to help entrepreneurs who are listening to this podcast. So we'll talk about that later on. What is the number one advice that you give to an entrepreneur to be able to continue and go on and overcome this imposter syndrome?
The number one thing I would say when it comes to overcoming the imposter syndrome, we already gave some ideas of we're understanding the psychology behind it and beyond. But the number one thing I would say is you have to have a strong why. Why are you doing the entrepreneurial thing that you're doing? Because here's the reality. Anybody that's listening to this that is a seasoned entrepreneur or even has started off knows that this is hard. This is not easy. It's not for everyone. And the last decade and a half or so, but more, being an entrepreneur has been very popularized in a way that's like kind of they make it sexy. And social media had a big part to play in that, from the taking pictures on the jets, the cars, the suits, and all that, whatever. But that's just 1% of the time. 99% of the time, you put your head down and you're working. And even before anything like that happens, you are doing things for years and years and years with doubting yourself and not even knowing if it's going to work or not. So why I'm saying that the why is the most important, because if you're not doing something that you're truly passionate about, that you know that you're helping society, that you're giving back value, it's going to be so easy to quit along the way. Because this is not a journey that's going to take a couple of months. It's not going to take a couple of years. It might take decades if you're really aiming for something big. So once you know what the why is, your imposter syndrome will always be secondary to the why. The why is going to drive you. The why is going to make you wake up at the times you need. The why is going to make you get into those discovery calls and get told no, no, no until you hit that one yes. And then you compound to a second and third.
Yeah.
So once you know the why that is driving you, everything else will take a secondary place. So know your why, be resilient, and then understand that imposter syndrome is something that everyone feels. And even as you go up, you're still going to feel it. You're just going to be stronger and more equipped to deal with it when that feeling comes within you. That's really what it is.
I love this. I'm going to for sure clip it and have it on social media.
Tag me on it.
Yes,
there we go.
Of course. The thing is, you talked about people posting pictures on boats and private jets and all of these things. And I do see a lot of younger people who are so attracted by that, and sometimes they even fake it, which is really bad, but they're just like want to be the billionaire, like an overnight billionaire. And there are so many examples that we see on social media. They are known people, I'm not gonna say names, younger people who are living this life and they really do have their private jets and everything, but this is just like 0.0, I don't know, 1% or something in the world. Like
Less than that.
yeah, like I don't know the percentage, but like it's a very small portion of the population of the world. And if you just see how everybody else is living, like so many entrepreneurs are living, some people don't even know if they're going to pay their rent tomorrow, and some people, they're doing well, but they're not necessarily billionaires. They have like millions, which is amazing, and they have houses and they have families and they have everything, but it's not necessarily the both lifestyle. So going, like, your why also includes what you want in your life, like how far do you want to go. Personally, I don't want to make 1 billion. I don't care about that, but I do have certain standards that I want to live by, certain level, you know. And to every single person, I feel they need to really decide where they want to be in life and what level is satisfactory to them, I believe. And that also contributes in how much effort you're putting into all of this thing and what you're feeling about it.
100%. 100%. You have to understand that. And that comes with self-awareness. The number one thing for high performers, and Brendon Bouchard mentioned this, is self-awareness, clarity. So you want to be a high-performing individual, you have to understand who you are, what your desires are, and what your standards are, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
If you, Sandy, you don't want to be a billionaire, that's great. But if you want to be in a standard lifestyle of like, hey, I don't stress out at the end of the month to pay my bills. If I'm going out with my friends and we drop a couple $100 on a meal, I don't want to freak out. If I see this nice dress, I want to buy it. I could buy it. But at the same time, I'm logical about my expenses. I'm not buying every single Louis bag that are available. Then you're living the life that you want.
Yeah.
Because you've created that. Now, when it comes to the entrepreneurs that we're kind of talking to, of like, hey, posting this, posting that about their successes, there's nothing wrong with that as well. You have to understand as an entrepreneur what drives you. And some people, entrepreneurial wise, they're driven by money. They're driven by making money, and that's the game. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Some people are driven by purpose, and that's okay too. And some people are just driven by the ideology to show somebody else that I could do it, and beyond, they have this chip on their shoulders. And as you understand what really drives you, then you understand your thought process, a part of it. For me, 100%, I am driven by a purpose. I'm a purpose-driven individual. Because if not, I would have stayed in other forms of industries. When I built my brokerage career, back in the day, I was a real estate broker, succeeding very well for my mid to early 20s. I decided to switch, go into the speaking world because I was purpose driven. Now, granted, I'm not at all in a bad
Yeah,
position.
yeah, yeah.
God bless, with His grace financially, and my business is growing. We have people within the company and beyond. But I understand, me personally, that money is the tool that I need to grow and impact the people that I want. Once again, there's nothing wrong or right
No,
in regards to
exactly.
if you're money driven or purpose driven or whatever in between. First, we have to understand that. Second thing, which is the main, I would say, difficulty of social media, and social media has so many great things, right?
Yes,
As we know,
so
it
true.
connects people from all around the world. All my clients are 90% international. I have rarely local clients. As you know, Sandy, I travel almost 4 to 5 months out of the year around the world giving speeches and beyond. So I have this different type of lifestyle. But the reality is, back in the day when social media didn't exist, we used to just compare ourselves naturally with the people around us. And that was our neighbors. That was the people in front of us. That's our family. So it's easy to look at your neighbor, Bob, getting a new Cadillac and like, okay, cool. Now we always see the new Lambo. We always see the new
Yeah.
outlandishness of the world, because now we have access to the whole world. We see what they're buying in Dubai. We see what they're doing here. So then for us, we feel even more overwhelmed, because then we're like, oh, I'm getting into my nice little Honda Civic, which is clean year and all that, but I don't value it as much. So you
Yeah.
have to stand guard at the door of your mind and be able to understand what's happening in your psychology, which once again goes back to the emotional understanding and the soft skills that you need to succeed. Because it's very easy to fall in that trap of comparison. That's who we are as human beings.
Yeah, exactly. I just thought of something also, like as an entrepreneur, there are a lot of things that you don't know about, and that's why you hire some people to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
But how can you also not feel like a fraud or an imposter when you're telling this person to do this thing, but they're the expert in the job and you're not?
Okay, great question. Great question. I always hire people around me that are better than me in those skill sets that I'm hiring. I don't want to be the smartest person. If I'm doing that, I'm doing it wrong. Now, Michael Gerber, sorry, has this book called The E-Myth. He explains what it is to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people think, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, but really what it is, they're a practitioner. Maybe they do 10% of the time entrepreneur stuff. They do, let's say, 20% of time of managing, so managing the employees. And then let's say the rest of the time, which is 70%, they're doing the actual work. So
Yeah.
imagine you own a bakery shop. Okay, cool. You're the entrepreneur. It's your brand. You have maybe one other baker, so you manage their time, salary, schedule, but you're still waking up every single day, going there and baking the cakes, preparing the food. That's the actual person. So what is actually happening is that you own a job. You're not the actual entrepreneur. Now, why am I saying this, Sandy? Is because we understand that framework, and you have to understand where you position yourself percentage-wise within your business. So if I know that I'm the entrepreneur, that means I have to be as much as possible in the aspect of what's the vision, what's the mission of the organization, what are we solving, what problem are we solving in society. So if I know that I have the mission and vision, and I'm hiring someone to do the copywriting, to do the editing, to do the videography work within my business, to follow me around the world while we're doing the speeches and recording it and cutting up on social media, I have to know that I'm hiring people that are better than me in those skills. But what I have to do as the CEO, founder, is sell them the mission and vision. So they're not working for Christopher. They're not working for Dedeyan Enterprises. They're working for the mission and vision. And if our mission and vision for the organization is help 1 billion lives positively through personal development, then they know that when they're editing the videos, that's the goal. They know when they're doing the copywriting, that's the goal. They know when they're doing the closing and settings for our academy course, that's the goal. So when you understand that, it doesn't position you as an imposter being like, oh my God, I'm telling them to do this, that, and the other, but I don't have that skill set. No, it's normal that you shouldn't have all the skill sets. If you have all the skill sets, you're going to be a solopreneur. That's okay, but you're not going to go very far. You're going to get there fast, but you're not going to go further. You need other people's skill set, and you have to be humble enough to understand that you have to hire people that are better than you in every single one of those things that you need, and understand what your skill sets are and play within those skill sets.
Yeah, I completely agree. I encountered so many people like clients that I worked with who were like, they know everything. It happens a lot in the marketing world, in communications, in social media, because there's very low barriers to entry, and no matter what, people think that they know better than you. So it happened
Mm-hmm.
with me a lot in the past, and it's like my niece can do this, and my, I don't know, my son can do this, and all of these things. Meanwhile, there's the 10,000 hours basically that they don't
Mm-hmm.
have, and they just think that they can do, and they used to give a lot of opinions about certain things. Some of these brands, I hate to say this, but some of these brands that I worked with didn't continue, but I somehow knew deep within me that it will not continue, because these people were so hands-on, and they're looking at the smallest detail, and like the dollar and the cent of every single thing, and you cannot really go into that and then grow your business at the same time, which is exactly what you said, sort of. um, you said that you need to let them do, but go, they all work towards the same vision, which, like, it like everything you're saying, I'm like, oh, this happened to me, or I saw this brand do
Mm-hmm.
this, and I saw this person do
Mm-hmm.
that. So let's summarize this. Entrepreneurs should have their why very clear. They should have
Mm-hmm.
their vision and mission, and communicate it to their team if they have a team, and if not, hopefully to their future teams. They
Yes.
should be open to accept new knowledge. Can we phrase it
So
that way?
under clarity on their skill sets, clarity on, so you're saying you have to have the mission and vision. So you have to have the why,
The
what you're doing,
why.
what you're doing.
Yeah,
You have to have the mission and vision so the organization could grow with people going to serve that mission and vision and not serve you. And third of all, you have to understand massive clarity on what your skill sets are.
exactly.
If me, I look at my skill sets, I'm a top end communicator, speaker, and coach. That's my skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a great salesperson as well, but I hire people that are better than me in sales, because I look at what are the skill sets that I have that I want to perpetuate, and it becomes second nature to me. And it's
Yeah,
the ones that I just said:
yeah,
coaching, speaking, communicating, and being a leader. That's who I am. So
exactly.
everything other than that, I'm like, how can I hire people that are better than? So I
Mm-hmm.
look at, if I'm doing this right now, if I'm doing my copywriting, okay, I could manage it, but this is something that I should hire towards. So by having those three things, then you're able to hire.
Mm-hmm.
Sandy, do you permit if I give you my 2 cents on what you said in regards to that aspect that was happening like many times in your life with the clients that you've
Yeah.
had, and you're like, oh my God, they're nitpicking? Here's what I would say to that. And please open your ears big over here, because this is something that I learned from my coach as well.
Yeah.
And when I shifted my business in this mindset, helped me out significantly. As much as, Sandy, a client has the choice to work with you and they hire you, you as a business owner has the choice to hire your clients.
Oh,
Now,
yeah,
granted,
of course.
saying this in the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey or wherever you're at within the process might seem a bit intense in regards to, no, every dollar counts and I can't let this transaction go through.
Yeah.
But I would counter that ideology by, if you're taking everything that comes your way, the quality is not going to be there. And the time of energy that you're spending with this one person that's bothering you so much more, when you should be spending it with the clients that you have that love your work, that are great, is significantly better. And you're going to open up time for you to go find more clients that you love working with. Furthermore, the client that you're working with that you don't like, they're going to refer you to the same type of people that they are. Their friends think the same way. They're penny pinchers. You don't want to work with that.
Exactly.
Whereas if you find those great clients, they hang around great people. They think the same thing. Your business will grow. So for me, as much as people decide to work with me, I actually interview them and I go my 3-step process to see, are they a right fit for me? And then I see if I allow them to come into my academy, into my executive coaching, or for us to collaborate within a speech or any type of workshop for their business.
Yeah.
So by positioning yourself like that, you're handpicking the right people, and it's inevitable that you will succeed. You're taking out the barrier of failure.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. I learned this the hard way because at the beginning I was like, no, I need this contract, I need this client, I need to, I don't know, spread the word or build a portfolio or whatever it is that you do at the beginning. But then the more you advance, the more we're like, okay, this is like so bad for me. It's taking so much of my energy. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it depends on where you are in your journey, because at the beginning, people tend to take everything that comes their way because they're happy. I just got my first client. But after that, you really need to work with people that are aligned with also you and your values and your beliefs.
So once again, I would actually say in the beginning to have a massive clarity on your ICA being your ideal client avatar. Once you know that, even before you made a first dollar, you know what that is, or you're targeting it. And that's only going to get refined after you have like 10 plus clients, because then you know what type of person you like to work with, who resonates with you more and beyond. And that evolves. But from the beginning, when you know that that's the type of people I want to work with, then you could target your marketing, your messaging, and your vernacular to these people. So right off the bat, if you do that, it's going to take out a lot of pain and a lot of friction in your business in the beginning, 100%.
Exactly. Basic marketing rules. All right, Christopher.
You know that better than me.
Yes, exactly. I think we can speak for 30 more minutes, but we're not going to do that because we try to always keep the episodes very short. But we'll see if people like ask for more. We can do yet another episode.
Part 3?
Part 3.
Yeah.
Part 3 with this.
Part 3 with the Dedeyans. Let's go.
Part 3 with the Dedeyans, exactly. One last question, and then we're gonna wrap this up. What is one book that you recommend to our audience if they have to read just one book?
Yeah. Sandy, I simultaneously love that question and I simultaneously hate that question. Here's why.
Why?
Okay. By thinking about that there's only one book you need to read is the ideology. I just read that book and I'll be good. And that's not true. What I could say is you have to have the mindset of I am a reader. I'm not reading a book, I am a reader. So that means when I finish one book, I start the other one. Maybe I'm reading several books at a time. So the first thing is 100% would be change the mindset of I just need to read this one book and I'll be good. No. If you want to succeed in business, look at anybody that succeeded at a very high level. They're all massive readers, from Oprah Winfrey to, what's Mark Cuban to Buffett. These are all people that spend hours and hours in their days reading. Microsoft leader and beyond. Now, I'm still going to answer that because I am a geek. I read.
I know you read a lot. Yeah.
Yes, I have like several. This is just one of my libraries in my home. I have a bunch in my office as well. I have other places around my home. These are my rereads. Now, if I would have to say read one book, I'm a God-fearing individual.
The Bible.
100%, I would say the Bible. And it's so crazy. No. I'm not even talking about for a faith-driven approach, which is good as well. I'm talking about for entrepreneurs. Just go read the book of Proverbs. Now, by even saying this, I'm still wrong because the Bible is not one book. It's a mashup of several books.
Yes.
So I would still say start with this. Next thing I would say, 100%, one of the top books that I love the most, that I've gifted the most, would be Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, which was a Stoic philosopher and a Roman emperor, the last great Roman emperor. And this wasn't a book that was written to other people. He was reading his own meditation and his own thoughts. Great learning with that. Another book that I suggest is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. He was a psychologist that survived the Auschwitz concentration camp. He was Jewish and in the Second World War. And he explains how he was able to see certain people knowing that, oh, this person's going to die in this concentration camp in 2-3 days and beyond. And he was always right because he understood the psychology behind it and the whole aspect. And then afterwards, he didn't have ill will towards the Germans and the Nazis, let me say more specifically than the Germans. And he was cleared up that aspect, which is crazy in itself. So those are some of the ones that people already know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. And at the same time, shameless plug here, I have my book that's coming out very soon. It's actually the 18th of July that's going to come out, which is next Thursday. Play for Profit, the correlation between sports and business, which I co-authored with Matthew Dubrook, which he is a top-end CrossFit coach worldwide. He goes actually to the CrossFit Games and judges the professional athletes such as Matt Fraser and beyond. So the CrossFit people know what I'm talking about. But why my first book was about the correlation between sports and business, because I truly believe If you're not taking care of your mind, body, and your spirituality before anything, you're leaving opportunities on the table within your business and you're leaving money on the table. So that's where I would start.
All right. This episode will be published the first week of August. So the book is already out. If you're listening to this, you can go and order it. We're going to link to everything, where you can find Christopher, how you can join his academy if you wish, and where you can find his book, and everything in the description of this podcast. Thank you so much, Christopher, for being a guest. And to all the listeners or the viewers, I'll see you next week with a new episode.